At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. It is the first day of summer when we are recording this, the longest day of the year. And we
feels like the longest year of the century.
Oh, yeah, of the decade, at least. It has been so far, but
yeah.
You know, we are the show that talks about creeps from the past to the present. This is what we do. We hope to be something of an escape, or at least something like you can vocalize out loud your ootsy feelings about the way the world is. That's what we're trying to do. And just so you know, if this is your first time listening, we always end the show with somebody who is not a creep. So you won't leave totally depressed. Today, our creepy story is a Hollywood showbiz story, and it's a murder from the 70s, and you're just not going to believe it. It goes some crazy twists and turns, and we're really excited to talk about it.
I don't know about this one.
Sonia doesn't know anything about this one.
New to me.
So just so you know, if you want to send us your suggestions for creeps and or non-creeps, we had a few people, Sonia, remark about our non-creep last week, saying they've got their stuff too, which happens sometimes. We pick somebody because it matches what we're covering. But anyway, I know, I'm sticking by her.
We do the best we can, y'all.
We're doing the best we can with what
we're given.
Nobody's
perfect.
No one, not even us. Ooh, you got a Dr. Pepper?
Oh, I'm drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oops. My Alexa just went off. I got excited for you. So if we're looking for suggestions, please reach out to us. We have a basic Facebook page. That's where people go to complain about our language. This is your official warning. We use salty language in this program.
Shit. Fuck. Damn.
We are the most interactive in our private Facebook group. So you type in What a Creep podcast group and ask to join. You do have to answer a few questions. And you have to promise not to be a creep. And we'll let you in there. And we just talk about pop culture and news and past episodes, future episode ideas. We like to hang out there, and it's a good space. So that's where you want to join us. Go for it.
Yes. And seriously, you have to answer the questions and you have to agree to the rules. I have set up a thing that will automatically reject you if you don't. So quite a few people have recently shown up and tried to just join without checking the boxes. And I'm like, you have to check the boxes.
You do. And some of you also invite your friends, which is totally fine, but they have to check those boxes too. So if they don't even know who we are, they're going to be like, what am I promising?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry that we have to do it that way. I'm kind of sorry. Like, this is how we keep it a good place for y'all. We definitely had MAGA people try to come in the group and say some shit. And they don't listen to the show. They can't answer the question. So I apologize, y'all. But
make an attempt at those questions. It's not too hard, but if you give it a good college try,
it's not hard.
We'll understand. We get that. We're on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at What a Creep Podcast. And we just gained a new listener through our Blue Sky that found us through that app. Also, our email, our old-timey email, What a Creep Podcast, spelled it all out at gmail.com. If you would like some stickers, I do have a stack of stickers. We can drop them in the mail for you. Just give us your address. Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you want to know about the show, but we're afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask, but you can go there anyway. You can open up each of those blog posts for each of our episodes. And you can see our show notes because we source everything we do. We're not making this stuff up. We want to give people credit for all the work they do. If you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a fabulous place to start. We also have a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks and pillows and all the things, sweatshirts, whatever you want. And we have a Patreon page where we have all kinds of good stuff. Tell them about that, Margot.
Patreon. Look up What a Creep podcast group and ask to join. You can join up for free. And for free, sometimes we post clips of, videos and links that are essential to the episode we just covered. Or if it's something about for our other show, Dorking Out, we put stuff there. But for everybody that pays for Patreon for What a Creep podcast, we're on season 30, episode 1 today. We usually do about 10 to a dozen episodes every season. So on our Patreon wall is our first 9 seasons. That's just for people who sign up for Patreon. We also put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and that's where Margot and Sonia shoot the shit. We talk about what's happening in the news. We talk about pop culture, politics, entertainment, movies. We cover everything. And
It's got everything.
And we video that one. So we have it in an audio version and a video version. So you can see our pusses when we're talking.
Pusses.
She loves it when I say that. And we also put out, if you pay for Patreon, we put out ad-free episodes. So if those of you that don't like hearing all those ads, and we're sorry about that, but we have no control over that, we use that money just for like the subscriptions and the cost of putting the show together. Anyway, if you sign up for Patreon, you don't have to hear any of them. That's the exciting thing.
Yes. And if you can't do any of that, and we totally understand, leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah. So I want to
Super helpful.
I want to thank Jack for signing up for Patreon this past week. And also we got a great review from Chris Campy 5, who liked our episode about Dave Portnoy, and that's how they discovered us. And then they've been binging the show ever since. And we really appreciate that. And thank you so much for doing that. Yeah. Ask for stickers or retweet a show or whatever. We're not on Twitter, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Repost, whatever. Tell a friend about the show. All those are ways you can help us out, and that would be amazing. Or don't do anything. We don't want to put homework on you. If you're, if that's too much, it's too much. Just ignore what I said.
Yeah. You do you, boo.
That's how we feel. Okay, Sonia, I'm waiting for my Google Doc to show up. We're going to be talking about Spider, and I keep wanting to say Rusty Sabich because of Presumed Innocent. I was addicted to that show last year. But we're going to be talking about Vladimir Spider Sabich. He's from California, by the way. His parents are from not the Ukraine, but Eastern Europe. Okay. In the glamorous but turbulent world of 1970s Aspen, ski champion Spider Sabich was a star athlete with movie star looks and a lifestyle to match. A member of the U.S. ski team and a 1968 Olympian, he became a professional skiing sensation and a fixture on Aspen's social scene. I'm going to keep doing that because I can't help myself. Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorite movies. Okay. In 1972, he began dating French singer and actress Claudine Longet, the ex-wife of crooner Andy Williams. Yes, we're going to be talking about Andy Williams in this show today. We have to. We knew we'd get there someday.
Yep.
The relationship was passionate but volatile, marked by frequent arguments and jealousy. On March 21st, 1976, Sabich was fatally shot in the bathroom of his home by Longet, who claimed the shooting was accidental and occurred while he was showing her how to use a vintage .22 caliber pistol. Sure, Jan. Sabich,
in the bathroom, like you do.
Like one does.
Yes.
When you're getting ready to hop into the tub, you first are like totally available for gun instruction. Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
we'll get to that.
Before I take a shit, let me show you how to use this gun.
I can't wait till I'm done.
Yes.
Sabich, just 31 years old, died en route to the hospital. It became a huge media case. Time magazine, all the newspapers across the country, all the TV networks, they all showed up for this event. So what happened during this trial is the stuff of legend. I want to just give the trigger warning is murder, but you're listening to a show called What a Creep, so I'm going to guess that you're okay with that. Here are my sources for the episode. EBSCO, EBSCO, Snowbrain's blog. You try saying that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Tahoe Quarterly, Wikipedia, of course, for Spider and for Claudine, Time Magazine, All That Is Interesting, The Crime Reel on YouTube, GQ, UK, the Colorado Sun, the Denver Post, NBC News, January 1977, and Andy Williams and Claudine singing Let It Be Me, 1969. Oh, great. Okay, so let's first start with Andy Williams. It's the most wonderful time of the year. That song is played a million times during the holidays, like starting the day after Halloween. That is Andy Williams. Andy Williams was a crooner. He was a man who had, he was born in 1929. He had a talk show, a variety show in the early 60s. And he's most famous, I think, for the Osmonds. That was his whole thing, was that he was discovered by the Osmonds.
All right.
Yeah. And it's very family friendly. It's sweaters and a proper haircut, like a short haircut, and a tan, and white teeth and hair that doesn't move. And he sang some contemporary songs, but he would do it in that way that like took the cool all out of it. Andy Williams is fine, and I do like his Christmas music. And he also wrote Moon River, which is one of my mother's favorite songs.
Moon River.
Okay, so that's Andy Williams, and it's 1961, and this is when he meets Claudine Longet. Claudine was born in January of 1942. She was a beauty, a total beauty. She had parents that were both scientists. So one of her parents was a science teacher, and the other one worked at laboratory X-ray labs. Okay. So she grew up in this very scientific home, but she loved music and dancing and the va-va-voom of,
It's her only way to rebel.
That's how she did it, man. You can't give a girl a name like Claudine Longet, raise her in Paris, and not expect her to be fabulous. I refuse. It's just impossible. Claudine is into singing and dancing. When she's about 16, 17, she's in a Paris Revue, a show where a danseuse, she was a dancer, and a man noticed her that was from the Tropicana clubs in Las Vegas. He saw her on TV. He was on vacation in Paris, looked her up and said, "Who is this girl? She really stands out." And they said, "That is Claudine Longet, monsieur." She's 20 years old. She's very young. He says, I have a review at the Tropicana in Vegas. It's a Parisian style review. Do you want to be a part of it? And she said, hell yes, I want to be a part of that. That sounds amazing.
Right. Yeah,
and this is when Vegas was super classy. This is like, you went to Vegas and you went out, you dressed up everywhere you went. It was the whole thing was nightlife then. That's what they were known for. That's what they were good at. So she shows up in Las Vegas, and I'm going to stop speaking French, thankfully. And she's doing really well. She makes friends. They set her up in a nice apartment with other dancers. She's having a great time. She's 19 years old. She's just
that sounds amazing. Sounds super fun.
18, 19 years old. She's like, this is living. And there's 2 stories. Andy Williams, who had a gig in Vegas because that was the law. All those crooners had gigs in Vegas. That's just the way it went. All of them. He was like, Sinatra is like super level famous, but Andy Williams was just below that. And it's important to remember that because he had Christmas specials every year on NBC in the 60s. And it got numbers that are equivalent of the Super Bowl numbers. That's how popular he was. So,
yes. And everyone, remember, there were 3 channels back then. So if you had a special on one of the 3 channels, pretty good chance a third of the country is going to watch you.
But he was so popular. It was like an annual. Yes. My parents told me about this. Like when we were talking about Andy Williams for another reason a long time ago, but they said, "Oh yeah, he put on that Christmas special. People had their holiday parties then, and they would have that on the background. It was just like, you watched it." Okay, so he's 33, 34, and she's 19. And
Okay.
she's in her car going home. They would send the girls home in a limousine, which was nice. And so it's the
Nice.
middle of the night. Nice. And she's with all of her girly friends, and the car breaks down. So they're opening up the hood. They're trying to fix it. And who should come along but Andy Williams? And he sees a car full of hot chicks and is like, hey, I can give you a ride home. It's late. You got to get home, don't you? So he takes them home, and then he drops her off last because,
Of course.
right.
Smooth move.
Smooth move. It is a smooth move. So he drops her off last, and they get to talking, and then he asks her out. And she's like, yeah, oui. D'accord, let's do it. And they start dating, and within a year, the following year, at Christmas time, when he was having his special come out, that's when they got married. Because they always knew publicity, these two. These two were totally okay if the press wanted to write about them. They had no issues with that. So he's 34, marrying a 19-year-old. It happens. And they have a baby within the first year. And that's when he finds out, that's when he starts saying to people, do you know my girl can sing? And they said, no, what? Quelle surprise. And he said, she can sing. And she can sing. It's more of a performance. It's very breathy. It's her sitting cross-legged with a guitar, and singing like the top 10 tunes, but she's doing it in a bossa nova / easy listening kind of way, because it is Andy Williams. So he realizes, and she's gorgeous, and she's a natural on the camera. People, and she's very charismatic. So he notices when he puts her on the air and lets her sing, the ratings go up, and people write in, and they're like, "Who's that chick? Woo!" So she puts out 6 albums in the 60s.
Okay.
And they sell at least 1 million each. So she's successful.
Does she do holiday music like him or no?
She's more of doing another version of a Beatles song, a Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
It's, Bread. It's like those kinds of very, like I said, very easy listening. He runs Christmas. She was always on his Christmas special.
He runs Christmas.
But he's got Christmas covered. He's like, no, that's me. That's mine. So she's, as they're going through the 60s and they do these specials all the time, she's in all the TV shows because she can actually act as well as everything. And she's, like I said, beautiful with a French accent. So she's doing I Spy, and she's doing all the shows.
Okay.
So she's, and they have this great relationship. They split their time between Vegas and Palm Springs. They eventually have 3 kids. 2 boys and a daughter. And everybody said they're in all the papers, and it's always like, because Andy is super square, right? I mean, he's a cardigan and the brown pants and the loafers and everything's tight.
Yeah. Like a Bing Crosby type.
Correct. With less children beating.
Exactly. I was
with less rage.
With less abuse.
Yeah, he's not a rageaholic. He was actually a really nice guy. Not actually much of a drinker, which is probably why the Mormons liked him. But anyway, so they're going through the 60s. She has 6 albums. They sell, some of them. It's like, and she said several top 40 hits. She's a name. And people know who she is. And they know who Andy is. And they're just one of those couples. It's like Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks. Like, you just like them together. You like the thought of it. Yeah. And they're friendly about it. They don't fight it. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, sure, you could take a picture of us. You could take a picture of our kids. Want to come to the house?
Right.
Sure. So,
The fight fans back home.
They probably would. I mean, they were really okay. They were really into it.
Okay.
They were a duo. Very close, like I said. Somewhere around 1967, he becomes good friends with the Kennedys. After JFK dies, even the most hardened Republican has a soft spot for the Kennedys. There's just something about them. So he gets to know Ethel and Robert Kennedy, the RFK Jr.'s father. This is senior here. And there's a rumor that he's stooping Claudine. Right.
Naughty.
And it's not confirmed, but it's just one of the rumors. And that's when that rumor gets out, there's more rumors coming out like wow, they seem to really, really get along and always seem happy. And he doesn't seem like to mind that she's always spending all of her time with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And let's say this. You're hanging out with Robert F. Kennedy Sr., you're in the bone zone, or he is not hanging out with you. He doesn't need women friends. He's got all the male friends he's ever going to want. Right. A year later, Andy and Claudine were going to meet Ethel and Bobby for dinner, and this is when he's assassinated. And Andy was in the room when it happened, and Claudine was upstairs with Ethel, or she was upstairs with other people. Like they were going to all get together and go.
Yeah.
So they were there when that happened, and that also kind of added to their allure that they were associated with somebody. You know, Kennedy, when RFK died, it was America shut down. I mean, it was very. And then Martin Luther King died. I mean, it was a very violent year. So, So, 1968, he's killed. 1969, their last child is born, their third baby, a boy named Robert that they named in honor of Robert F. Kennedy. Okay. 2 years later, it's now 1971, and Claudine and Andy are separated. Oh. And it's a huge shock because no one ever heard them. They never had a crossword to say for each other. They were, like I said, always out in public, always side by side. You know, beautiful couple. It was a big shock. Here's the thing: she gets $2.1 million in the divorce, which is the equivalent of about $6 or $7 million today. She's not doing bad. And she decides that she's going to live in Aspen, because that's where they always would go skiing. She turned into a ski bunny in the middle of the 60s. So and that's where you go if you're really into skiing. You want to stay in Aspen. So she moves to Aspen, and she and Andy have a very, very lovely divorce. They uncouple without any animosity, and they spend half of the time. I've heard of this.
Yes, I was going to say, I have heard of these kinds of splits as well.
Yeah.
Lucky them.
Right. Yeah. Their youngest son, Robert, once said to a kid when he was like 5 or 6, his parents were going through a divorce. And he was talking about the mom and dad yelling at each other and how horrible it was and painful. And he said, wow, I'm so glad my parents aren't divorced. He couldn't even tell that they were divorced. Like, they got along that well.
Wow.
Yeah. So they were buds. There was a lot of love there and that they kept. Okay. So now it's 1972 or 3, and that's where we meet Vladimir Spider Sabich. And Vladimir was born in Sacramento. His family were Croatian, and his dad, he was born in 1945, so he's 3 years younger than Claudine, and he had the nickname Spider because he was born premature and his arms and legs were so thin. His dad called him Spider, and that just became his nickname.
Such a weird. Okay,
all nicknames are weird. Everybody in the family has somebody. They're like, "Why do you have that name?" But they're like, "Oh God, when I was 5, I did this, and now I'm fucking stuck with this shit."
Yeah.
Okay. So his father, Vladimir Sr., was a CHP, CHIPS, California Patrol.
Yes.
So before that, he had volunteered to serve in World War II. He was a B-25 pilot, and he was and he was captured and held prisoner up in Siberia. His plane was captured. He was in jail, in a prison in Siberia, like the worst thing you could think of, right? He was in there for a year, and he got out, and he was fine. God. So, he's going to like Law and Order. He's going to right. So he comes back. He's a CHP, and he eventually lives in, I don't know this town. You might know it. It's Khyber's. It's Kyburz on Highway 50. Does that ring a bell?
That doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay, so that's up by Tahoe. So that's Northern California. It's like a couple hours north of San Francisco and to the east. Okay. So that's where he grows up, which is skiing central. Spider he learns skiing because that's where, And then he's really, really good. He's a jock. Spider is 5'11", blonde, blue-eyed, fit, super smart, and super charming. So he was a chick magnet.
I assumed his arms and legs filled
They
out.
filled out by then. That he could be on the pole. Wouldn't that be crazy? He couldn't hold the poles because of his weak arms. That would suck.
That would suck.
So he's born in, like I said, 1945. And so by the early 60s, and skiing was still a rare sport in America. It wasn't as popular as it would become. And so he was a part of in the 50s, there was just like all these kinds of enhancements to the sport to make it easier, to make it better, to make more people be able to do it. The clothing got, better, more technical. And it was
yes.
The more people can do a thing without freezing to death, the more they're going to be likely to do it. So he joins a ski team. He's in the Olympics in 1964. He gets into the Olympics in 1968. In 68, he comes in fifth because there's all kind of shenanigans going on apparently with other teams.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's still, that's fifth is good. You come in fifth in an Olympian event, you're fucking good. Like that, you don't have to apologize to nobody.
Right.
So he spent his times in Europe and he joins all these professional teams and he's like, this is great. I'm making money. I'm skiing, but I am sick and fucking tired of being in Europe. I miss home. I want to go back to America. So America, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
He comes back to the States in the late 60s and there's a movie called Downhill Skier that Robert Redford's the star of. We were talking about this yesterday.
Yes.
And it's based on Sabich, the character that Robert Redford is playing. That's the level of handsome this guy is. That's the charisma that he has. Like, Robert Redford's like, I wish I was him.
Yeah, if Robert Redford is playing you, you're doing something right.
If 1968 Redford, okay, here's my story about Redford.
Yeah.
My parents saw, Jane Fonda, Robert Redford.
Barefoot in the Park?
Thank you. That was originally a play on Broadway. It's a Neil Simon play. And it was from The Birds, Bob Newhart's show, The Wife.
Suzanne Pleshette?
Suzanne Pleshette and Robert Redford were playing the parts that would be played by Jane Fonda and him in the movie.
Okay.
And so in the play, they're walking up these stairs into an apartment. It's a Greenwich Village apartment. That's the stage. And there's a hole from the ceiling because there's a hole in their roof, right? So they're coming home from their honeymoon and he's holding her up and he's carrying her into the room. And there's a spotlight right where the hole is and it lands on the stage and everything else is dark. And my dad and my parents talked about this many times. He brings her in and Suzanne Pleshette is so beautiful that everybody goes, oh, right? Because she's in the light and everything. He drops her down, he takes off his coat, and then he turns around and walks into the spotlight. And the whole audience went, when they saw Robert Redford. Everybody, man, woman, child, old, young, gay, straight. He's so beautiful that, like, my parents were like, he's going to be a movie star. Because that's right. That's
if y'all don't know, if you're like, all you know about Robert Redford is like
from the Marvel films.
Marvel movies or maybe sneakers even. Like Google 60s Robert Redford. Like
he's
handsome.
It's like women want him, men want to be him. Because he's not frou-frou either. He's kind of rugged. And he did those like him. Paul Newman did the racing movies and he did the skiing movie. And Redford's a total ski bum and lives anyway. So that's the level of like a guy like that is like, I need to play you because you're cooler than me.
Yes.
Okay. So Sabich, and everybody knows this about Spider Sabich. Sabich he has a brother that lives in Aspen, and his brother's an engineer and builds homes. And Aspen is starting to come a place where like the celebrities are going to hang out, and that's where they ski. You go to Palm Springs for this, and you go to Aspen for that. So he built his brother home and he made so much money. Spider made so much money in Europe as a professional skier. He had a home built for him, a chalet built for him that was worth $250,000. And this is 1973. So that's like $3 million in today's dollars.
For sure.
He's got and he's like next door neighbors with John Denver. And his life is about everybody looking like, oh my God, it's Spider. Like everywhere he goes, everyone knows who he is. Everyone thinks he's great, and he has the personality to match it. He's completely like totally okay with it. Spiders loves being Spider. He's doing great. Spider and Claudine meet at an event in 73, and she knew about him, and she had her eye out for him. I would too. I mean, even just to stare at him, I would just like, oh, is he here? I just want to look at him.
Well, I would too, but I'd be like, can you introduce me to Robert Redford?
Exactly. So they meet up, and it's like, and people describe it, it's like nuclear fusion. It's like so much hot meeting hot, and it's like explodes. They are attached at the hip. They go, and all these pictures of them with their arms around each other. They go everywhere together. He's completely, if it's not love, it's limerence, or he's Twitter pated, whatever you want to call it. Like he's got it for her. And this is a guy who had a different chick every day. So it was a big deal to everybody, like, oh, he must really like her. So Claudine and her kids move in with him. And he says, please move in with me. And then they have a relationship. It's the mid-70s now. And they're doing great. And also, Aspen has been getting to be known in the 70s for being very 70s in that cocaine, marijuana, all kinds of drugs, all kinds of swinging, all kinds of partying.
I was just going to say swinging.
It's swinging central. It is like people are DTF. They're there to party. They're there to ski. They're DTF. So they're hanging out with each other, but the relationship is always filled with a little bit of jealousy, and mostly on Claudine's part. He doesn't care as much, but she's super like, she tells him if he goes to a party she doesn't want him to go to, she'll just throw an ashtray at him. And there was one party called the Breast Party, the Best Breast Party. This is 1975. There's only so much. Yeah. She's like, you can't go to that party. And she threw something at his head, and he showed up with a big.
Legit. I don't want my partner going to the Best Breast Party either.
He doesn't need to go.
Yeah. So you have best breasts at home, sir.
But this is when the fights are becoming about this. That's when he's like, his friends are like, is this what you want? Because
also we don't throw things at people.
Yeah, you don't throw things at people, but also like your stepdad, like, are you attached to these kids? He gets along great with Andy. Andy's totally cool with Spider. He thinks he's a great guy because Andy squired lots of women, including Ethel Kennedy after the assassination.
Oh my God.
These people love to fuck. They're just into it. So Spider and Claudine, they have this relationship, and it's very volatile. It becomes very up and down, lots of jealousy, lots of throwing of things, lots of yelling curses in French at somebody who doesn't understand what they're saying. It's all kinds of stuff going on. He hurts his back in between 75 and 76, and he can't ski as much. And that hurts him because he's not making the money, but he's also just like, he's a guy that would go on 25 rounds on a mountain to train.
Yeah.
25. Like I do a couple and I'm completely exhausted. So
I can't do it at all. So
yeah, he's yeah. So but he hurt his back, and that also added to their fighting and stuff like that. But then he's getting better and healing, and so he's going back to skiing, and she's getting used to him being around the house, being home. He's like 31, 32. He's like, I've got a few years left if I'm lucky to make some good coin with this. And also, and he had sponsorships. He was very, very smart about his money.
But it's his job. This is his job to do these things.
Right. And he went from making, 100 to 200K a year, which is a lot of money for them. That's like almost $1 million, to he made $800 in 1 year from skiing.
Wow.
That's how much he so that added to their, it was a low point in the relationship, and for him and for her and whatever. Okay. So let's get to 1976. It was the spirit of 76. Sunday, March 21st, 1976. So Spider is doing his rounds on the mountain. Claudine is shopping with the kids. She's stopping off to get a couple of glasses of wine. She's coming home, and she sees him, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to a party tonight. And her kids said, she was like, what do you mean you're going to, are we going to a party? I better get dressed. What do I wear? And he's like, no, that's just going to be me. But I won't be long, and blah, blah, blah. And Claudine is not having it. So he's going
Okay.
up the stairs to his chalet. Once again, her kids are home.
Yeah.
So she's going upstairs to where the bathroom is, and they have a gorgeous like skylight. Once again, skylights are playing a big part of this story today. It's like a sloped roof with a skylight.
Mhm.
It's like fancy bathroom. And he's taken off his clothes and he's down to like his long underwear in the bathroom. And that's when Claudine says, he said he was going away for a ski tour, and I really wanted to use this gun that he has, and I didn't know how to use it, so I wanted him to teach me how to use this gun. It's this .22 caliber vintage gun. And she says he's in there getting ready to take a bath or a shower, one or the other, but he's down to his long johns, and she's like, I came into the bathroom, I was holding the gun and say, hey, can you show me how to use this? And he said, sure, and he demonstrated to her, and he wound up shooting himself in the stomach one time.
Okay. That's suspicious.
Be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. And she calls the cops because he's bleeding like crazy, and the kids are freaking out. And the police come over, and she's like, oh, mon Dieu, I just wanted to use this gun. And the cops immediately are like, who teaches someone how to use a gun in a bathroom? Why would he do this like as he's taking a shower? Like, if you want to learn how to shoot a gun, why aren't you outside? You shoot it outside, right? That's how I was taught.
Yeah.
We didn't do it in the house.
Well, I grew up around guns. That's not a thing. But I mean, not everybody does things the same, but I find it hard to believe that a man was going to take a shower and that he thought that was a great time to teach her about a gun.
How to shoot a gun.
Like,
right.
Yes.
And she claims
I seriously
he
doubt
said the
it.
safety was on it. I don't know what happened. So the cops are like, they take him, and unfortunately he dies on the way to the hospital. 31 years old. It's very tragic.
That's really sad.
His family's upset. Everyone's upset because, like I said, he was super, super popular. And it's still, to this day in Aspen, you could see all kinds of signs. You can see all kinds of signs for Spider. He's a big deal. Robert Redford's daughter is going to do a documentary about him. There have been other documentaries about him. Anyway, so the cops, they take him. He's going off in an ambulance. There are police there at the house, and they're doing a search of the house, and they're asking her questions, and they grab her diary. She had a personal diary, and for some reason she gave it to them. Like, you don't have to give the cops anything if they don't have a warrant, y'all. Like, okay, she gives them that.
Yeah.
She's basically like, whatever you want. This is an accident. This was not on purpose. So then they said, we need a urine test and a blood test as well. And she says, okay. And they just take it from her very quickly. Like, I don't know if they took her to the hospital to do it, but they get her blood sample, urine sample, and they get her diary. In the diary, she talks about how she and Spider are fighting a lot lately, and she's really mad at him, and I think he wants to break up with me, and I don't want to break up with him. My kids love it here. What's going on? How come he's so distant? Why is he blah, 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 blah? And they get her blood test back and her urine test back, and sure enough, she has cocaine and alcohol in her system.
Oh, boy.
So now they're like, well, how much of an accident was it? And you can get really drunk and do something stupid. You're still responsible, though, for killing a person. Yeah, you can't just do that and say, well, I didn't mean to. Like, oh, you didn't mean to? Never mind.
And also, like, you can fight a lot with someone, and it doesn't mean you're going to murder them.
Right.
But, like,
maybe you want to, but that's like in your dreams. That's not something you...
Yeah. Exactly. But the idea that they are fighting a lot, she has all these substances in her blood. The story is very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course they're going to look at her for this.
Yeah.
Of course.
Hi, everyone. This is Margot. What I forgot to mention during the recording of this episode is that when the police collected the diary, the blood samples, and the urine samples from Claudine, they were not allowed to use it in court because they did not have a warrant for it. That was kind of important. So anyway, keep that in mind for the rest of this episode. Now back to the show. So a year later, there's a trial. It's January of 1977. And they are charging her with homicide. And then there's also the charge of basically accidental homicide. Like it was not criminal negligence.
Right.
So they're trying to get her for homicide, okay? And as they're presenting their case to the jury, and as the attorneys are watching the news, seeing how it's playing to the public, they realize like there's a lot of people who sympathize with this woman because she showed up at his funeral, by the way, front row, crying her eyes out.
Yeah.
I get it, that's your boyfriend, but considering the circumstances and that you're the fucking reason why he's in that casket, maybe not pull a show like that in front of his family. Like that's not cool. So
right.
As they're presenting the case in court, and it's going out on the news, they're getting the idea that, oh, people are starting to sympathize with this woman. She shows up crying. She's very French. She shows up with Andy Williams. Andy Williams gives her money for an attorney. Like he pays for everything. And he's going on all the shows. Everyone wants to interview Andy Williams because he's so nice and normal. He was a father figure to her almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and this doesn't seem like the kind... People back then probably weren't like, women aren't capable of this.
Right.
Women don't do these sorts of things. A woman would never shoot a gun at her boyfriend with her children in the home.
Right.
That wouldn't be a thing that would happen because women don't do that sort of thing. So it must have been an accident, or he must have been really horrible to her.
Right.
By the way, those things could be true. They could be, but
But we know now women can absolutely do that.
Yes.
I mean,
yes, of course.
And I contend anybody can be pushed that level. It just depends on what circumstances you're under.
Of course. And it could be that she was clearly super pissed off.
Yep.
And maybe...
And snorting coke and drinking.
Yes.
Like, that's not a great combination. That's not going to put you in a good mood.
Yeah. It won't put you in a good mood. No, it will not.
It just amplifies what you're feeling.
Yes.
So cocaine will make you the most annoying version of yourself, right? So if you don't like hot weather and you're on cocaine, you're going to be like, oh my God, it's boiling. I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a very
although
annoying drug.
I do that without cocaine.
Yes,
just
exactly.
To warn people.
So the trial is happening, and Andy Williams is going on all the news shows and saying his ex-wife is innocent, that she's a good woman, she's a mother, she would never hurt anybody on purpose, blah, 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 blah.
Your ex is doing this. That's going to have a lot of sway. I don't think my ex would go on TV and say such lovely things about me, and I'm a lovely person.
You're awesome. But he's kind of weak too. Like he would just be equivocating a bit. Like, I don't know, maybe she did. I don't know. He's one of those types.
I wasn't there. Were you there? I wasn't there.
Asshole. Okay. Anyway, the jury convicts, but on the lesser charge of criminal negligence. And she gets 30 whole days in jail for that.
What?
Not only 30 days, Sonia, she gets to pick the days she wants to do it. So she's like, I want to be a weekend jail person. They're like, okay, great. So Saturday, Sundays until you're done. So she goes to prison, but only on the weekends. And it's until her 30 days are up. So that's like 2 or 3 months. 3 or 4 months. Anyway, I can't do math. But after this, she's a pariah. Because there's a lot of people going around town like, that's some fucking bullshit. If she was convicted and got a couple of years, even though that's not a lot, that's substantive. That's at least a decent chunk of time for someone who's never been in jail before, like to serve time. Yeah, 30 days is bullshit. And 30 days in an Aspen jail on the weekends? Like,
30 days is what people get for drinking and driving.
Exactly. That's the DUI.
And when they didn't hurt anyone.
Right.
Like, that's pretty lenient. Like,
I mean, it's so she stays in Aspen. She gets her own place. She lives with the kids. The kids go to school. And they live a decent life. She was sued civilly by his family, and they sued for $750,000, which was a lot of money in 1977. And they settled out of court, so I'm sure it was all cash. But they said, but caveat, you can never ever give an interview. You can't do anything paid to talk about this story. So you can't write a book. You can't do a documentary. You can't take, money from a program to put you on the air. And she said, no problem. I don't want to talk about this anymore. So she never talks about it ever again, never discusses the case in public, ever, anywhere. Her kids grow up there. They turn out fine. In 1985, she winds up marrying her attorney who represented her in court. So,
whoa.
Yeah.
What a great romantic comedy that would make.
You didn't kill your husband? That's crazy talk. I'll figure this out. Don't you worry, your pretty little French head.
The Trialist.
So she's still alive as of right now.
Okay.
I don't know if her husband still is, because I think he was also a little older than her. But her kids, they turned out fine. From what I can tell.
I'm glad the kids are okay. This shit's not their fault.
It's not their fault. And I think it's a small enough town, like, it's just the right size. Like, yeah, there's going to be people who shun you, but there's going to be other people who are like, what are you going to do? That's not his fault. Like, So that's the story of Claudine Longet and Spider Sabich.
Good job, my friend. I have never heard this story, so I love it when I've never heard of the story and I get to hear it for the first time with everyone else. Good job. Interesting. I was Googling pictures of them, by the way, while you were talking, so that I could see how beautiful they are, and they are.
They're gorgeous. I mean, right? They're like stepping side by side, like completely like, that's the epitome, like a gorgeous couple.
Yes, yes. Would you like to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you know who Sarah Burke is?
Tell me.
Sarah Burke was a Canadian freestyle skier, pioneer of the super pipe event. So if you don't know what the super pipe is and like freestyle skiing, it's, that big like half hike, the tube that has no top. So it's that sort of thing. She was a 5-time Winter X Game gold medalist. She won the world championship in the half pipe in 2005. She is the person who pushed for the International Olympic Committee to include this event in the Olympics, for the 2014 Olympics, I should say. She was born September 3rd, 1982 in Ontario. Both of her parents were artists, but as soon as she could, she started skiing. Like, she would sneak out of school and go and snowboard and ride the half pipe all day.
God.
She was the founding member of the National Half Pipe Team. That was in 1997. And that's before the team had any kind of funding support. She started this team herself. She started coaching at a Momentum ski camp that she taught at that for 7 years. She created the Girls Week for the camp, encouraging girls to get into freestyle skiing and things like that. She was constantly pushing for women inclusion in these competition sports, because in some of these freestyle, it was just men.
Yeah.
She won. Let's see. I want to say she won first place in 2001 in the U.S. Free Skiing Open in the half pipe event. She finished second in the slope style, and they were it was her and this other woman named Christy Leskin, and they were the only women who were competing. They competed against men, and she still she came in first, and then she came in second.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. In 2004, she lobbied ESPN to include a division for women skiers in their Winter X Games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she competed in that and won it 4 times as a gold medalist in freestyle skiing. First woman ever to land a jump. They called it the 1080-degree rotation. That sounds bananas
That
to me.
sounds
No, thank
insane
you.
to me. I had a friend in college who was paraplegic, and because he was doing that freestyle skiing, and he said it was a freak accident. My blah blah blah. My dad goes, "That's not a freak accident. That is like, it's dangerous. It's very
Yes.
very scary to
Well,
watch. It's thrilling
yeah.
to watch, but that's because it is so dangerous."
Yes, and we're gonna get to that in a second. So she also participated in like skiing films, which if you've watched some of those skiing films, they get crazy footage of these because it is like it's really fast. It could be really dangerous. I mean,
Mhm.
they're going upside down. They're doing all these things. Um, she met another freestyle skier named Rory Bushfield when she was 14, and he was also like 13 or 14 at one of these ski camps. They actually got married in September 2010.
Aw,
So cute. They're like
so
childhood sweethearts.
cute.
So, yeah. So this is where it starts to get a little sad. So
Uh-oh.
in January 2012, she's practicing and she's working on a trick called the flat spin 540. You go upside down, you twist, all this stuff. This was in Utah and she was injured. She like fell, she hit her head,
Oh God.
and it didn't seem that serious, but then she went into cardiac arrest and she was flown to a nearby hospital. And it turned out she had a ruptured artery, one of the 4 major arteries that goes
Uh-huh.
into your brain, and they tried to fix it and it was irreversible and she died.
Oh no.
Yes, on January 19th, January 19th, 2012. So this is really sad, but I want to point out some good things here. So
Yeah.
in June 2012, the Canadian Olympic Committee announced that she was going to be in the Hall of Fame. She's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh good.
She was inducted in Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. And then in February 2014, the Winter Olympics were happening in Russia, and they actually scattered her ashes there because
Oh,
she didn't
wow.
get to compete. But then on top of all of that, and this is why one of the reasons I like it when women are like, "Fuck that, we're doing that shit too," and she was one of those people. After she passed away, her husband started the Sarah Burke Foundation, which is helping, younger winter athletes get scholarships to do these things because skiing is fucking expensive.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is kind of a rich person thing.
Well, you have to first be able to get there, get to where that
Yes.
mountain is, and then
Yes.
and the passes are super expensive, and yeah.
Yeah, so the clothes are expensive, skiing passes are expensive, resorts are expensive,
Mhm.
equipment's it's all expensive. So they started this foundation to sponsor people to participate in events when they can't afford it. And in the 2022 Olympics, 7 different recipients of scholarships competed in that Winter Olympics.
What?
Which I was like, that's pretty dope.
That's dope. That is amazing.
These are 7 people who wouldn't normally be able to do this because money is
An
a
issue.
thing. Don't we all know it?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's our non-creep, Sarah Burke.
I didn't know she died. That was a journey you took me on, but I feel like I know her
Yes.
and I admire her.
Yeah.
And she sounds rad.
She sounds super rad.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, that's our show today, everybody. And in case if you love the sound of our voices and you're like, God, I wish they had another show, we got another show. It's called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. We just covered Priscilla, Queen of the Desert,
The
right?
Queen of the Desert.
For
Yeah.
Pride Month, we covered that, had a lot of fun with that. Sonia, what are we covering next?
We're going to do one of my favorite things in the world, talk about a 90s thriller. So we are going to talk about 1990s Bad Influence. It has James Spader, who I think is in the good guy role here, and it's Rob Lowe is in the bad guy role. A little bit of a role reversal, if you will. I can't wait, because talking about 90s thrillers is one of my favorites.
It's one of our favorite jams.
Yep.
All right, so that's what we're covering next. Once again, we're always looking for suggestions for creeps and also non-creeps, so please reach out to us. All those social media places I mentioned before. We love it when you use the Annie Potts GIF. We got one, but you can also be clever and just pick something else, or just shoot us an email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok, but I am most active with y'all in our Facebook group. So if you want to do that, answer the questions and join us. Where can they find you, my friend?
You can find me at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at brooklynfitchick for Threads and Instagram. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for Blue Sky and TikTok. And I am at my name, Margot Donahue, for YouTube. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with a new episode. In the meantime, stay warm, stay safe. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.